Moose, I'm gonna sit. You don't worry. You're gonna get plenty of pets.
He never does this. This is specific to Dan.
We're buddies.
All right. It is Wednesday, November 19th, and with me, as always, my friend Pete. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing okay. Another week has gone by, and I'm still kicking along. So
Still kicking.
life is okay. I had a bunch of nice visitors in the last week. My buddies Adam and Andrew came up the other day for a visit, and my cousin Gina showed up. My cousin Shalene showed up with a ridiculously high calorie key lime pie.
Oh, wow.
It's like 5,000 calories because she knows that I need,
Yeah.
every bite needs to have a shit ton of calories as far as I'm concerned. So that was good. And today we got a special day because we have yet another all-star lineup.
We're in person too, so
yeah.
that's the hint that there might be a special guest. So why don't you introduce our special guest?
There may be some unusual background noise because our special guest is quite friendly with Moose. For those who know me, you know that Moose has been my friendly sidekick for the last 2.5 years. And maybe I'll introduce Dan first and then give the backstory. But Dan Cavalletto is here in the living room, who is he goes by dog trainer, but that is a massive underestimation, misstatement of what he actually is, which is, I refer to him as an animal behavioralist, because he has been a godsend to me and Moose from a training standpoint, and is we've become friends over the course of, I don't know, 50 or 60 or 70 hours worth of one-on-one training. And I thought it would be cool to have Dan on and talk about that and whatever else comes up. So Dan, welcome to the pod.
Great to be here. Super happy to share and hear and talk about Moose, who's an excellent dog, and certainly give you lots of credit for putting dedication in and learning the skill of good communication and helping Moose be the best he can be, and have a really spectacular relationship with him, and just kind of be able to communicate at a high level. And I think it's really dogs can be so beneficial to our physical and emotional quality of life. And I'm really happy for you and Moose that you have each other. It's really good.
Yeah. I can definitely attest for that. The backstory a little bit is we got Moose, but it was really Lynn was like, we can get a dog, but you're in charge kind of thing. And I'm like, and so I got Moose, and he was born in January. I got him in March. He'll be 3 this January as a pet. And fast forward to December, and I got diagnosed. And once the initial shock wore off, and we're starting to think a little more practically about the implications of my diagnosis, I knew I had a good dog, or like a really good dog. And I know I've had enough dogs that I knew enough to get them to, sit and stay, and like some, basic sort of behavioral stuff. But I realized, A, he's capable, and B, I do not know what I'm doing at that level. And let's turn him into a service dog as best as possible. And so I, like anybody, started doing some Google searches, and 4 or 5 trainers came up, and Dan's was the most impressive to my eye in terms of just the content of what you talked about and your philosophy of dog training. And sent them a little email and got a response 4 hours later or something. I'm like, all right, that's check another box of high responsiveness, and we started working together in April or March, or May, something like, relatively quickly thereafter. And Dan, slowly downloaded to me, or uploaded to me, I guess, a lifetime of knowledge about how do you train a dog, and
Yeah.
how do you think like a dog, and how do you do some more complex tasks. And it was a ton of fun,
Yeah.
and B, it was highly practical in terms of various skills that we taught him. Maybe I'll shut up for a second because I'd rather have Dan talk about it.
Well, I'm. How long have you been doing this for? Yeah.
I am now entering my 30th year of professional dog training.
Wow.
So it's been a long road. I've worked with 5,000 plus families and dogs, and really enjoy establishing good relationships with people and helping them and their dogs live better together. That's kind of been my passion. Grew up with a dog and was really bonded. And in high school, all I could think of was maybe going to vet school, which I was not interested in. But considered it and wound up pursuing a degree in psychology, and wound up doing my 1-year independent study thesis on the health benefits of having a dog present while you're going through stress. Which was both a in the lab experiment. I had a golden retriever, and I put my subjects under some stress and compared those results with the subjects that were put under stress without the golden retriever present.
I did not know that.
And noted that heart rates were lower, which was supporting my thesis, as well as other research that people do better, live better with dogs.
This was a 35 years ago or something,
Yes,
right? So
this
this
was
was before. Yeah, some people say,
1990.
"Yeah, of course we have these dogs."
Yeah.
Right. That didn't exist when
Right.
you were doing this.
Right. So it was really, and I went through a summer program at a professional dog training school, and upon graduation, I was thinking, like, what am I going to do with myself? I was thinking about working in restaurants, maybe being an EMT, and maybe making a go at running my own business. And pursued all those, but simultaneously, and quickly discovered that I stood out in the dog training world. I was good at what I did. I really enjoyed it. And really enjoyed running my own business. And always put emphasis on working with my human client to better understand their needs, their wants, their limitations, the family dynamics, what the goals were, what the commitment was. And I think because I had a big picture understanding of psychology, as well as I think growing up in the Upper West Side of Manhattan and being an independent kid, taking the subway to school starting at age in 7th grade, and kind of learning about people. And I was always curious about society and what makes people click, and relationships. And so I think I'm also really gifted in being able to meet people where they're at and not bring a lot of judgment in, because my clients put themselves in a vulnerable position when I'm coaching them, to attempt to try something and not have it go so well, and then ask for feedback and receive that feedback and then work at it, which is my passion. I love working with people. Certainly very much enjoyed working with Pete and Moose.
I can guess I was obviously a very motivated student and I had time on my hands.
Yes.
So for a third of the time we did, an hour a week. And you had homework and if you don't do the homework, it does really, you know what
Sure.
I mean? And Dan figured out pretty quickly I was doing the homework because we were getting good results. And then the next third of the time we were meeting 2 times a week. And then kind of reverted back to once a week. And I can imagine that you have a lot of clients who have a different level of acceptance of coaching.
Yes.
If I may put it that way. And yeah, there's a lot of body communication with the dog, in addition to tone, in addition to the way the dog receives a treat, whether the dog should come to you for the treat or whether the dog goes and gets the treat, or you bring the treat to the dog. Because this is nonverbal communication, I guess, among other things. And then footwork around, like you're trying to position your dog, in a heel position, for example, how to do that. And, Dan will demonstrate it. And if the person's good at sort of seeing the body movement, they can kind of recreate it, but not everybody is built the same. So I think the psychology thing is the human psychology thing, because you're really training the human. I mean, let's be clear, right? It's
that's
in a lot of ways
the more rewarding part, and frankly the necessary part, which is if the human doesn't understand the signals or even the concept of prompting dogs to do behaviors and strengthening those behaviors, most people don't even have that concept. That is, that they'll point out what the dog is doing wrong, but not even be sure themselves what the right thing would be.
Right.
And the dog doesn't know what the right thing is.
Guess what? The dog doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, so it's can get rather complex, and we want things to be simple. And I have a tendency of trying to give a simple overview and then a more complex one, and get into the nuts and bolts, and then take a big picture view again. And really hope that my clients kind of understand the inner workings of dogs and themselves, and kind of intellectually comprehend key components in communication and in training. There's a big part of that. A big part of it is the hands-on skill set, which is not easy. Some people are naturally a little bit better at it than others. And then there's the third part, which is creating a lifestyle where the desired behaviors are reinforced and the undesired behaviors aren't. And relationship grows and things get tighter, and really kind of optimize the relationship that we can have with our dogs, which is phenomenally significant to people. I have lots of clients that will report to me that they maybe have a little guilt, but that they were more emotionally shook by their dogs passing than their parents passing. People have this really unconditional love with their dog, that is not that is so different than a relationship with a person. Your dog, Moose is coming back for more. He doesn't hold a grudge, and he's right there with you, and he wants that companionship, and it's really special.
Yeah,
it's really special.
When you engage with clients, is there usually sort of a goal, and it's sort of like you come up with a plan to meet that goal, or is it more like we just want to make progress in a more general sense, and it could be like ongoing, indeterminate? Like, how does that tend to go?
So as I've gained experience in demand for services, I've been more selective with targeting clients that had the motivation. They wanted to be participating in the work and had the commitment to do a fair amount of work. 25, 30 years ago when I was starting my business, I was trying to attract anyone. So I put up flyers that said, hey, if you have problem behaviors, do your dog dig in the yard, pull on the leash, jump on people, destructive behaviors, house training problems, call me and I'll solve your problems. And in a lot of that's a way to market, right?
Sure.
People are contacting me for problems. It does pose the challenge to the trainer, which is how do you just solve that problem? The dog digs holes in the yard. And most of the solutions in that traditional duty of getting rid of a behavior that the dog is doing that the person doesn't like is just a punishment protocol that the client is not going to implement well. It's really difficult to actually just teach the dog, like, don't do that thing, especially when we're not even observing you. And I would actually find, even with those clients, I would maybe hook them in that they had some challenges, but then I would try to convince them that the right way is to focus on encouraging the desired behaviors and communicating and helping them understand, well, your dog's bored out of its mind and you're correcting him at the wrong time. So now he's running away from you. He's still destructive, and he won't come to you, right? And you just created this relationship, really got off track. And so since day one, my service has been around strengthening the client-dog relationship, good communication, and frankly, I would rather work with fewer people to get them further than just do 1 or 2 sessions with hundreds of people in a given year.
Yeah.
I really like the relationships that I establish with my clients, with the dogs, with the actual client. And so it's certainly been a pleasure to work with Moose and Pete and get to some of the more advanced behaviors that Pete can benefit from.
I mean, there are two things that, not only two, but two things that were pretty fascinating to me in this whole journey with Moose and Dan. Was one, noticing that as each sort of skill got developed and you went on to the next skill or behavior, you could tell that Moose was learning how to learn. You know what I mean? Like the first time you're doing something that's a little more complex, takes a little longer, and then the second one takes a little less time because it's hard to explain how, but that's like a child learning how to learn or something. That was pretty surprising and fun to watch the dog have these aha moments, and have the aha moments sort of each time a little more quickly.
Yeah.
The second thing that was very interesting to learn as a dog owner was, like, how do you teach a dog a multi-step complex task? So just we did this for fun because we were training Moose to open drawers and open things. So you have a little tug rope on a handle, and you have to teach the dog to grab the rope and pull the thing open. And then you have to teach them how to push it closed with their nose, both of which are individual things that you teach for several weeks before they have it. But we taught Moose to, and from a distance, like I could be sitting at the kitchen table and have him go to the little beer and wine fridge that's at the floor level, pull the fridge open, take a can out with his mouth, bring it to me, and go back and close the refrigerator door. Now that's kind of a circus trick, you know what I mean? Because he couldn't figure out which IPA I liked necessarily. But if you think about that, just intellectually, like, how do you teach a dog to do that? And maybe a simple example is he's got this blue platform that's I don't know, 6 inches off the ground, square platform, to teach him the command hup, which is something he can do on stairs, or if you said hup on the sofa, he'll hup. But initially started teaching him hup on the blue platform. The steps that you need to take from the dog can see the blue platform, but to get from seeing it to say, I'm putting all four legs on there and I'm going to sit down on the blue platform is like, I don't know, 5 or 6 individual steps.
Right.
And so to learn how to break down as the trainer or the dog owner, as the human, to break down the whatever the task is that you want to have done into little bite-sized pieces, and you teach one. It's incremental in how you teach it, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So how do you teach a dog to hop on the blue platform?
So the to oversimplify, we used a lot of luring, which is using food initially in an obvious fashion to have the dog move its body. And we just actually, there's a fair amount of work just in that.
To get to that,
teaching
right.
the dog, if you follow the piece of food in my hand into this position, I will release the food.
Right.
And so we did lots of luring, and then that starts getting easier where we fade our lures to subtle gestures. So for example, I would take a tidbit and I would put it towards his nose and bring him, and then when he got his 4 paws up onto the box, I used a verbal marker, a yes marker, which would indicate to him that he did the right thing, and I'd give him a piece of food. And then pretty soon I get to the point where he anticipated that I was going to do, because I just did it 3 or 4 or 5 times. And pretty soon I just wind up pointing to the box and he says, oh, I think that's what it is. And he gets rewarded when he goes up there. And then pretty soon he starts figuring out, got it. If the guy points or does this subtle gesture, a reduced lure, I think it's the same thing as the more obvious lure, so I'll do the behavior, and then coach says yes, and I know that I figured it out. And then we go to the next step, which would be labeling it, where we say the word, the signal, we use the word hup, just prior to the gesture. And through classical conditioning, a dog learns, hey, when this signal happens, this next thing happens, and pretty soon the first signal, hup, takes the place of the second signal, the gesture. So we also used verbal markings. We use verbal communication so that if we said yes to our dog in a particularly enthusiastic tone, he would anticipate, all right, now I'm going to get a reward. And with Moose, after we did a lot of our foundation work, we also transitioned his reward from meat, which he likes, to ball, throwing the ball or playing tug, which he really likes. And so it's kind of fascinating, like intellectually fascinating, where we say, Moose, if you go over there and pick up the eyeglass case or the key or Dad's iPhone and bring it to him, there's a probability that one of us will say yes, and then out of the drawer comes the ball and the rope, and you'll get to play. So that's like really cool, and like how, and thinking about like, the dog figured out if I do this, then I get that. Right?
And now, thing that happens frequently every day, multiple times, is I drop something. And at this point, all Moose needs to hear is something dropping near me, and he's up. And I usually say, take it or give it to me. But a lot of times he just does it because he's like, oh, well, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And like that is unbelievably helpful. Like I've got I can't really, use my fingers to use the iPad or keyboard or anything. So I've got this little stylus that I poke with.
Mm-hmm.
And I drop that all the time. Moose just picks it up and hands it back to me. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we put a lot of thought into what patterns we would want to be automatically understood. Examples of that would be Pete's walking down the stairs and he doesn't want you to rush by him and knock him over.
Right.
Or Pete's walking in or out of work and He doesn't want you to step in front of him and trip him up, right? Um, uh, and or Pete wants you to stay at the side of his chair while he takes a trip around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
I think
having these,
I would also add to that, when you see another dog or another person, the default is you're not going to go say hello to that other dog or that other
Right.
person. If you're given permission to, that's okay. So all sorts of highly productive, practical things that are less obvious than
Yeah.
just picking something up that I dropped.
we had numerous conversations about what are the particular behaviors that you want and need. Understandably, we both had challenges fully visualizing or anticipating
Yeah.
Pete's rate of change,
And just predicting, like I spent a lot of time, we both spent a lot of time brainstorming, predicting what my challenges will be exactly. And it's, if somebody gets in a car accident and have some paralysis of some sort, whatever that is, that's their problem,
Yeah,
right?
they're
And
immersed in
it's gonna stay that way,
Right.
Basically.
Mhm.
Our problem was, well, what we're doing now may be helpful for the next 2 months, but then 3 months from now things are going to be worse, or you're going to have fewer abilities. And that was so we did some things that ended up not being all that pragmatic, just because we were sort of spitballing some of the
Trying to
behaviors.
guess.
I would say that even though a few of them we were spitballing, it was still productive because Moose he likes to learn.
Yeah.
And just keeping him engaged from an intellectual standpoint was worth it by itself. It's something you said earlier, Dan, was just about you're referring to just dogs, which obviously is true. But then you get into this: different dogs have different skill sets, and there's working dogs and there's non-working dogs, and there are dogs that are motivated. Moose is more motivated by toys than he is by food, which is people wouldn't necessarily guess. But you have to kind of target how you will approach the training of a dog based on whether it's a herding dog, or a Great Dane or a Lab or a Golden Retriever or whatever. I assume.
Yeah, so there's like my top two thoughts are, one is boy, you got lucky with making a great selection. We would have had a heck of a time doing some of these behaviors with some other dogs that you might have chosen.
Yeah.
I think Moose is a super dog, and I think that Labs in general are really sound, very intelligent, very caring and loving dogs. They and frequently used for assistance work, therapy work, and service dog work, because of their high work ethic, i.e., high drive for ball or food. That's what he's working for.
Yeah.
And their ability to be stable under pressure, forgiving, and kind of tend to be very environmentally and socially sound. And he's a good size. We practiced having him help you in and out of your chair, in and out of the car.
Yep.
We practiced a drill where Moose would be sent to the trunk of Pete's Tesla on signal, and then when Pete was in the driver's seat, he could open up the trunk, call Pete to the driver's door, and have and kind of brace himself to take some of the support on his front shoulders while Pete exited the car.
Yeah. Even in the car, you can pop the trunk, from the front seat. We train Moose that when the trunk pops, he goes to the edge and looks over, but he does not. He will not get out of the car
Right.
without a signal to say, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that alone is like all these little size things I hadn't even thought
Yeah.
of. I mean, we did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and then we went out to apply them. We would go to Legacy Place or go into
Yeah,
CVS.
LLB,
Yeah.
CVS to go pick up a prescription where the woman puts the prescription on the table and Moose will step is the command to put your feet up there and takes the bag and we walk outside. I do that every time I go to CVS.
Oh, great. Great. We went to the bank.
Went to the bank.
to change like a 10 for a roll of quarters or something, and Moose was able to pick up the bill.
Pick up the bill and drop it on the teller's thing, and then pick up the roll of quarters and give it to Dan. I mean, obviously the people we're doing it with were like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah. And we weren't, we knew that that one of the most valuable things was going to be picking things up, being able to just like, if you drop something, or just, and then we looked at practical health and physical ability to assist. I also emphasized the other two components that I thought was beneficial. One was that work with Pete and Moose was a project for Pete.
Yeah.
It was basically saying, like, let's think about something positive.
Keep me busy.
Keep you busy. Keep you feeling good about who you're hanging out with, your sidekick here, and kind of learning something, learning the skill. It's intellectually fascinating. And I think that was great. And then we also talked about just the additional benefits of if we could get Moose to this really high level of really good manners, really good responsiveness, where there would be an overall quality of your life just having him at your side.
And reliability that he's whatever, the door opens, somebody's at the door, he doesn't charge out and go across the street or back. He's not leaving.
Right.
He may go on the porch, which is okay, but he's not going off the porch.
Correct. And that was actually my advisor in when I did my IAS. He said, well, you had a calm golden retriever there. What if you had a intimidating, menacing dog? Would that have lowered blood pressure? Right. And no, it wouldn't. It probably would have raised it. Right. So it's not just like having a dog, inherently life is better. Sometimes there's a lot of people that call me up and they're really stressed. And so my joy is if I can reverse that, I can kind of break this stuff. And it was really good to see that Pete was bringing Moose to his doctor's visits. There were times that I know Pete was downtown for hours on end, getting blood work done and so forth, and going to meetings. And I remember seeing pictures of you guys doing overseas travel.
Yeah.
And so having your service dog kind of opened up the door for you to have your trusted buddy like really enmeshed in your life, which only you can really feel the full value of that. But I know it's significant.
And certainly people close to me can see it.
Yeah.
I think two things maybe in conclusion. One is Cavalletto Canine is the name of the business. So anybody who's in the Metro West Boston area who listens to this who has a need, should know that Dan is a rock star. Just because.
We'll link it in the show notes.
And two is, it's a reminder to me that, my disease diagnosis and disease, I prefer not to have it. But I've met a bunch of people who I wouldn't have met and developed relationships with had this not been the case. And Dan and I have become friends. I mean, we're not hanging out, barbecuing on Saturday kind of friends, but we're friends.
Yeah.
And he comes over and visits every once in a while. I've sort of scaled back the training because I don't have as much energy to do it anymore. But we've got a few sessions on the books when my daughter Lily is home, so she can reinforce things. And so I'm grateful for that. And even with you, Glenn, like we've become a lot closer since we're doing all this. So,
Yeah.
Dan, I appreciate, started out as a business relationship, but I appreciate all you've done for me and for Moose. And, this wasn't just a job for you. You've really spent a lot of time thinking about how to be helpful. And, it was more than just doing some dog training. You knew that it was a deeper and more meaningful experience for everybody involved. So I thank you very much for that.
Well, you're quite welcome. I appreciate you and Moose. And it's always been a pleasure to spend time with you guys. And I think of you guys both as my friends too. And super supportive and eager to do whatever I can do to increase the quality of life for both you guys. And I'm committed to both you guys.
Yeah, you made that clear early on, like whatever it takes. So that's
That's a wrap.
That's worth gold.
Good.
All right, you want to wrap things up there, Mr. MC?
I think so. We got to keep them bite-sized, right? Can't go too long. But this has been great. Thank you so much, Dan, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thanks as always. Moose, thank you. You might have heard Moose sniffing the mic a couple minutes ago, but he
wanted to participate.
Yeah, he doesn't speak, does he? There's no. I can't get my dog to do any.
Tuck's good at that.
Yeah.
We'll give Moose a little break in a moment and let him say hi to his buddies.
Nice.
All right, till next week.
Till next week.
All right.
Thank you.
If you have comments or questions for Pete and me, you can email us at 2224peter@gmail.com. If you'd like to get involved with or donate to ALS causes, check out ALS One at alsone.org. Thank you for listening.